Yeah, that's not working for me tonight. I was trying to do a little classical music to open up the show. Just not feeling classical music tonight. It really worked the other night when I did it, but Cray, welcome. How are you?
Hello, I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm really well. I'm really excited to meet you and ask you a bunch of questions. Um, so thanks for joining us.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm going to invite Joso up on stage as well.
Awesome. Hey,
And
Joso.
and really excited to meet Mike, who is in the audience on Thursday. So that's cool. I don't know if you know this, Cray, but the Nomad Boulevard launch party is this Thursday in Venice. Um,
That's
are
awesome.
you in LA?
No, I'm in Chicago.
What part of Chicago?
I'm in the Bucktown area.
I would be lying if I said I knew where that was. I went to school in Indiana, so I do have like some sense of the Chicago area.
Wow, that's like a
Yeah.
first. You not knowing like a little
I
coffee
know.
shop in the Bufftown area.
I know. I know. It's embarrassing to be honest with you. I seem to know my way around like little spots around the world, but not that place.
Yeah. Yeah, but I will be out for NFTLA, and I also got to meet some of the Nomad crew at ETH Denver recently, so that was cool.
So, did I meet you?
It's totally possible. I don't know. I feel like we might have connected if we did. But I was there. I had a pink wig on and I had my Bored Ape sticker that I was passing out to everyone.
You know
Here, I
what?
think you might
I
have come in the night after. I think she met everyone at the Dead Mouse concert, like that time or table or
Yeah.
whatever.
got it. Okay, well, I did not meet you, but we were probably very close in proximity at some point that week. So, did you have
But
a good time?
but you guys
Oh,
did meet. You guys, I think, met in the Board Ape merch line at NYC NFT, in part of the 4 hours we were there.
Wait, for
that,
real?
that's totally possible. Yeah, that's where I met Joso. That's how I met him.
So, did you meet Joso when he was at the back of the line, or when he then joined me and some of the people I was with towards the front of the line?
I met Joso in the building. So I'm guessing the front of the line crew.
Got it. Yeah, you know what? For whatever reason, I don't think it happened. Um, So, all right, let me ask you something about Board Ape Yacht Club while we're waiting for some people to show up. And by the way,
Yeah.
everyone in the room, if you could just do me a favor and click on the blue plus button on the bottom right hand of your screen. Maybe mention something that we're going to be interviewing and having a conversation with Cray Train at KRAY Train. That would be great. So, let's talk about Board Ape Yacht Club for a sec before we kick things off. And Joso, we haven't spoken about this in a while. That was usually like a daily thing for us back then. What's going on with Board Ape Yacht Club? Is the drop a symptom of what's going on in the world and just all of the markets together? Is it project specific? What do you think is going on?
You know, I I I don't know, to be honest, but I do think that it's just part of the market. I think generally overall we've seen a dip in the market. I really haven't paid attention to the floor probably in like 3 months, to be honest, because hot dog is me and I am hot dog. And so, I'm kind of long term. I'm long term on the apes. I am bullish on the next part of the roadmap and what's coming out whenever it comes out. And so I do think it's just a little bit of a market response. I think a lot of folks have been talking about like being in a bear market and being a little bit bearish around all sorts of things right now. And I do think it's a little bit of a response to that. I've been in the space. I got my ape, I think, the day after they minted on like May 1st. And so I've been around for a long time. I've been here for over a year hanging out. And so I've kind of been through it all. When I joined ETH was probably at like 1800 when I joined the space. And so, the market ebbs and flows. And I think this is just another day and like the market ebbing and flowing. To be honest, I'm not concerned. I don't feel worried about it at all. I think it's really fun to see the different ways that people react because it's just like human nature. But yeah, I don't really think it's anything to do with the club necessarily or basing necessarily, and just more so a symptom of kind of like current events, the markets overall, right? All that stuff that's going on. I also know a lot of people who are just like for some reason ready to sell their apes in this season, and like make other life decisions. So I can't really fault them.
When you first joined, so you said that you aped in just after mint.
Yeah, it was May 1st. May 1st, whenever that
May
was.
1st. And I aped in shortly thereafter, Joso as well. And so you only bought one ape and you've never owned another ape.
Yep, that's right.
So two things. One, there were many opportunities for you to see kind of the fast adoption and growth of Bored Ape Yacht Club, and you could have bought another. That's the first question I have for you. Why didn't you? The second question I have for you is why haven't you sold this whole time? Because there have been so many moments where, real money could have been made.
Totally. Yeah, both fair questions. So there were a couple of times where I was about to buy another ape, very, very close to buying another ape. When I bought my first ape, I was legitimately wringing my hands. Like my palms were sweaty. I was wringing my hands, and I pulled my husband over and I was like, "Hey, I'm about to spend $700 on this picture of a monkey. And it's the biggest purchase I've ever made in the space. And I feel a little bit wary about it, right?" Um, and I did it, and I kind of didn't look back. But there were a couple of times, like I think when maybe like apes were a little over an ETH, and then also when they hit, I think 3 or 4 ETH, we were also debating getting in. But gosh, it can be scary to make those big decisions, those big money decisions, whether it's $700 or $12,000. Like now it's all relative, right? Like looking back, it's obvious. But where we were back then, it was like kind of the first time that you were seeing this happen with a project, right? Besides like CryptoPunks and maybe hash masks, it was kind of the first time that a project was actually gaining this much momentum, getting this much hype. Like, they sold out so quickly in relation to anything else that had been going on at the time. So, that's why I would say, I don't own another ape. And then the reason that I've held on to my ape is, I love being in the club. It's been really meaningful for me, but I've also developed a persona for my ape, right? I don't tell very many people this, but he has his own Twitter account. And like for most of the last year, he had more followers than me. And so, like, I have this relationship with Hot Dog. His name is Hot Dog. And I honestly, at this point, can't imagine selling him unless, he was worth like maybe $2 million or something, like that. But yeah, I love being in the club. I love the community in the beginning, when we were talking about like banana milkshakes and banana coladas and having parties on the yacht every night. It's just meant so much to be a part of this movement and this community from the beginning. So for sure, if I am ever to sell Hot Dog, it will be after the long-term gains window, and it would take a lot. It would take a lot for me at this point to sell.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people ask me why I haven't sold either. I wasn't that early. I bought mine at 1. I did buy another one, and I sold it at 7 ETH, and I, kick myself every day for that. But same thing. I just like being in the club. I've kind of developed this persona and backstory for my ape. And yeah, I same thing. K Train, like maybe $2 million if it ever got there, but it would be very, very sad day. Even though with $2 million, they say money can't buy happiness. I'd still be sad.
Totally, right? It's like a hot dog, there's so much in my life. I have these stickers that I hand out everywhere I go of hot dog. I've got a jacket with hot dog on it. There's just so much about me that has become
I
hot
love that
dog.
jacket.
Yes, the jacket's so good. And my friends like know my ape, right? So like they see my ape somewhere, they're like, "Hey, that's your ape," right? So it's just become associated with me. It's a little bit of like kind of a personal brand at this point. And so yeah, it would definitely be tough. But what I would say, Joso, is like a 7 ETH return on a 1 ETH investment is still pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's all relative, like you said, but still.
Totally. Oh,
Did we lose Hero?
I think we
Did Hero
lost
get wrecked?
Hero.
No, we're all doomed. Gotham. Anyone see the new Batman yet? No spoilers, please.
No, I really want to see it though because I had this crazy opportunity, and actually this ties in a little bit to what I wanted to speak about today. But I went to Comic-Con uh, in LA and San Diego in November and December, and I was invited by a gentleman named David Uslan to speak there. And his dad is actually the producer of the new Batman movie, so he and his dad own basically the entire Batman franchise. And so it's been really cool watching him at like the premiere and all these things. You know, he was talking about it. He was so excited about it before it came out, and meeting his dad was so incredible. But yeah, it's really interesting how like that comics world is sort of bridging the gap for me now. Like it's kind of weird. It's like 6 degrees of separation or whatever they say. But yeah, that it ties into like the comic stuff that I'm hoping to speak about tonight.
Yeah, and I can't wait. Can't wait to hear the whole story once Hero gets back here because he's our hero. Um, but what was I going to say? Yeah, I remember when you went to Comic Con in like where was it, LA and then San Diego. You're all over that like those 2 weeks. For anyone that
Yeah,
doesn't know, K Train is a boss woman who travels to every NFT event, every Comic Con event you can go to. Never sleeps, maybe like a wink a day. So true inspiration. And yeah, we're stoked to have you up here.
thanks, Joe. So, and you know, we have Agnes up here. Agnes is also just, yeah, Agnes is
Hey.
incredible. She's in the comic book space as well. She's part of this project. And then we have Comic Voxels in the audience, which is my friend Josh. I don't know if we can bring him up, but these folks are also like comic book heroes. Agnes is a New York Times best-selling comic book artist for like My Little Pony and Care Bears and Teen Titans Go and all this incredible stuff. And this is kind of how I met them. I've known Josh for over a year, but I got to meet Agnes, I think, at Comic-Con specifically. And yeah, it's been really cool to get to know the entire comics world by virtue of the NFT space. It's crazy.
It's so cool. Very good to meet Agnes. I'm a huge
Pleasure to meet
fan.
you.
Yeah, I love Care Bears. I love My Little Pony, and this is a true story. When I was in kindergarten, the older kids in school beat me up because I was playing with My Little Ponies, and
Oh my!
they're probably in hell now, burning. So
Yeah.
They suck because anyone who plays with ponies or Care Bears is just awesome. Of
I
all
agree.
ages.
That's horrible though, Joso. I'm so sorry that happened to you.
I mean, like beat up for a kindergarten. You like pushed me down and just scraped my elbow.
Still rude.
Very.
Agree. Still mean.
Totally.
Well, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Welcome
Yes.
back.
Thank you so much. So what happened was my phone died, and then I went on my computer to keep listening again, but obviously I couldn't figure out how to talk on my computer, so I had to wait for my phone to turn back on. But I did hear everything, and I just had a few quick comments. One, do you know Batman represents like 75% of that studio? Like it's one of like the highest grossing characters. It's crazy, like way more than anything else. Two, I was never into My Little Pony as a kid, but definitely was into Care Bears. And I didn't go to the same school as you, Joe, so that wasn't me. But I would have definitely tried to stand up for you with that kid that pushed you over and scraped your elbow.
Love ya.
Love you too, Agnes. Nice to meet you,
It's
and
a
welcome to
pleasure
the
to meet
stage.
you. Thank you.
So Cray, look, I know we were talking Bored Apes, and I know that we want to talk about some specific stuff tonight with you, but really what tonight is about from the Nomad Boulevard perspective is bringing people from the space to not only share some alpha, not specific alpha, but not only to share some stuff about what you're working on and industry relevant stuff, but it's just bringing thought leaders from the space who have a point of view, who have been through it, and providing value to the Nomad community in a different way than we normally kind of do on these spaces, which is more art focused and highlighting artists talking a little bit about our project and the community. So that's what tonight is about. And I always like to ask people that join us to just tell us a little bit about how you got started and maybe kind of break up the last year plus since you've been in the space into chapters. That would be really helpful just to give us some context on your experience getting here. And then obviously would love to jump in and talk about what you're working on and what you're focused on now.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me and allowing me this opportunity to do this. So, the way that I got introduced to like Web3 overall was through crypto. So, like maybe 4 years ago, I started investing in crypto. And for me, it was like a lower barrier entry to this idea of investing, right? Like traditional investment systems seemed a little bit too intimidating and like not for me, right? I just didn't know how to access it. And I had a coworker at my tech company say, you can put $5 into cryptocurrency from your paycheck and just see what happens, right? And so for a few years, I started to invest in crypto. I guess this would be like chapter 0, if you will, because I really didn't know anything about it. I was just like, okay, cool. My money goes up and down and this is volatile. And there's this thing called XRP and Litecoin and, Bitcoin, which people talk about a lot and it's mysterious, but I really don't know why. And Ethereum, right? Like I just started investing into a bunch of different things, really having no clue what it was, just kind of like watching what the market did every day on Coinbase. So I would say that's chapter 0. And I would say chapter 1 for me was Clubhouse. I got invited to Clubhouse. I don't know if it was December of 2020 or January of 2021, but I got invited to Clubhouse. And, what was so cool about that was it was an opportunity for me to get to know more about things that I had been a little bit wary about. Again, like traditional investing and also crypto investing. And so I started to join some Bitcoin rooms and they turned out to be Bitcoin maxi rooms, and I was kind of deterred from them pretty quickly. But as I was like finding a safe place on Clubhouse, I jumped into this room about nothing, right? And in this room about nothing, there were a handful of folks who were really into pizza. And they wanted to start a thing called Pizza DAO. They had a mission of making pizza free and starting the world's first open source pizza franchise. And I was just really intrigued, right? We all chose pizza toppings. I chose jalapeno. And like within a day, we started a DAO. And within 3 weeks of starting that DAO, we were able to bring a product to market, which was a 10K generative NFT project. And we raised $1.25 million. And what's remarkable about this is it was pre-Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? It was over a year ago, actually, that the DAO was started. And we were really modeling ourselves off of like hash masks and CryptoKitties, right? So we're still on a bonding curve. It was all DAO funded, right? Like it started, everybody was volunteering their time. Nobody was getting paid from this. And that really was like chapter 1 for my story and what got me started. And then from there, like Pizza DAO started to say, okay, we have this money, we want free pizza, let's start by throwing the world's largest pizza party. And I think that was probably chapter 2 for me, was organizing the world's largest pizza party, and during which we gave out like $350,000 worth of pizza in over 60 countries at over 220 pizzerias. For me, that really opened my eyes to the possibilities of what Web3 had to offer. And so by October of last year, let's say maybe that's like, I don't even know what chapter I'm on now, maybe chapter 3, that's when I decided to leave my tech job. So I quit my tech job that I had been at for 5.5 years, and I dove headfirst into the Web3 space and NFTs. And ever since then, I've been kind of advising some NFT projects. I've been on a few NFT project teams, and I've also been helping Web2 companies think about how they can transition some of their Web2 business models over to Web3 without fully transitioning their entire business, right? So what might it look like to change their shareholders' investments over to like a token model with some utility wrapped around it. What might it look like for authors to do something like what Gary Vee has done with his 12 and a half book sales, right? All of these different types of things, DAOification of their communities with a token model and governance model, that type of thing. And that's where I've been hanging out up until now, which is helping my friend Josh and Agnes kind of launch their projects, Comic Voxels and Digidorables. So yeah, that's been my journey the last year and a half, or maybe like 4 years, I guess, if we look at chapter 0.
I love that you have a chapter 0. And
Yeah.
I think that I'm gonna look right now to see if it shows me. But I think I was invited to Clubhouse in December 2020, and I remember when that happened, I felt like I was like getting into a place where I shouldn't have gotten access to. You know, like I was like 2 layers removed from like the people that I was experiencing in those early rooms. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. It was unbelievable, right? Like MC Hammer was
MC
joining the
Hammer,
rooms.
right? MC Hammer, Ava DuVernay. I mean, there were like
Yes.
some major people in these rooms, and it was,
Yeah.
it was really wild. So it's cool meeting other people that kind of had that same experience, because it was different than Twitter Spaces is now, and
Totally.
and it really, especially after COVID, and people were experiencing their version of this new isolation and kind of removed from a lot of their social situations. It really felt like this, the beginning of what we're all experiencing now. This new way of being in a community with someone and interacting with people. And here we are now on Twitter Spaces. I mean, if you told me then, when I first got into those rooms, that we'd be on the stage having conversations on a Twitter Spaces, I wouldn't have believed you. And some of those early rooms in Clubhouse with NFT artists and collectors and people talking about the space, you know. And then the other thing is, that feels like so long ago. And at the same time, you mentioned that Bored Ape Yacht Club isn't even a year old. I
Totally,
mean,
right?
it's
It's
really wild.
it's crazy. Yeah, and when you tell people that your project launched before Bored Ape Yacht Club, people are like, "Whoa, I didn't know there was anything around before that," right? Like maybe CryptoPunks. But besides that, people didn't know there was already momentum gaining in the space, right? And
I,
what's
I
so
mean,
cool, go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So what's so cool about Pizza Down and Rare Pizzas is we were able to catapult so many incredible people in the space to launch projects, right? Because of the virtue of being early. Like so many project artists, devs, founders, right, in this space have gone on to do really amazing things after onboarding into Web3 through Rare Pizzas. So it's really cool. Like you said, I couldn't have imagined a year ago what this would become.
And I just got to say, I'm part of Pizza Dow and Rare Pizzas, and they throw amazing pizza parties. I was starving in NYC. I hadn't eaten for what felt like weeks, and they saved me. So yeah,
There you go.
definitely go buy a Rare Pizza.
So one more thing. It says at Strawberry WTF. Tell me how you met Strawberry.
Yeah. So I met Strawberry at Pizza Dow. So Strawberry is like one of the original founding team members of Pizza Dow and Rare Pizzas. It was actually Strawberry's art that kind of catapulted Rare Pizzas. So he was selling like these bronze pizza slices. Back in the day, it was kind of like, starting an NFT project to fund your vision. He was creating these pizza slices and selling them, and then started to create some other things like the DeFi friends, which I still use on my PFPs and different, like on Discord and things like that. But his artwork is really what got Rare Pizza started and off the ground. And after that, kind of like the founding team, we're friends forever at this point, right? It's like whether somebody has ups or downs, it's like, we did this thing together, and we're in it. We're in it now.
And were you kind of in the mix or in the know about about OniForce when that whole project got started?
Um, in a sense, yes, because and Saucy Saucier is in the audience. We were actually in Las Vegas for Pizza Expo on behalf of Pizza DAO the day that OniForce launched. So like the days leading up to it, Strawberry was just in his room up all night getting ready for the launch. And then the day that they launched, we were actually out in Las Vegas doing pizza things. So yeah, we were around like learning about it and hearing about it, but I wasn't involved with the founding team when they kicked off.
Got it.
What a cool thing, just doing pizza things. Like, imagine that your life, just going around Vegas, going around different conferences, doing pizza things. Love that.
Yeah, like I've got this pizza thing later, so I'll have to call you back. So, all right, well, tell us about where where is the majority of your energy being spent today? What are you the most energized by right now? Where, talk to me a little bit about the present.
Totally. So this was something, as 2021 was wrapping up, I realized that I had gotten sucked into a lot of NFT projects, and I took a look at where I started, and it was really in this like Web3 can change the world type of scene, right? I was so bullish on the power of Web3 because we were able to bring a product to market in 3 weeks and raise $1.5 million. We were able to, planet pizza the planet, right? Bring pizza all over the world. And so when I was reflecting at the end of 2021, I was like, I really want to get back to building. Because building is so important to me in this space. I think there have been so many different projects out there that have been solely motivated by the capital opportunity that folks have kind of lost some of the vision of what's possible with Web3, right? Web3 in its nature is transformative and disruptive, and that's really where I wanted to spend more of my time this year. So currently, I'm still helping out with Rare Pizzas whenever I can. I love to, join some speaking engagements, like Joso said earlier, to talk about Pizza DAO, to talk with other people who are doing DAO models and token models, and get a sense of how they're leveraging, this technology to change things in their own sectors. I still support with some NFT projects. So I'm still helping out Strawberry WTF. I'm helping with Comic Voxels, which is Josh Blaylock. He's in the audience. I'd love to bring him up at some point, but it's like his baby, right? He and Agnes are launching this thing. The reason I love that is because it's looking to transform the way that comic artists understand the Web3 space, right? Because as you can imagine, the comics industry has been fairly negative and pessimistic about what Web3 is doing and what NFTs are and things like that. And so they've been a little bit reluctant to come over. And so what I love about Comic Voxels is they're creating this really easy on-ramp for comic artists, and just giving them an opportunity to I was talking to someone earlier today. It's like, we're teaching them how Web 2 can love Web 3, but how Web 3 can also love Web 2, and not necessarily like a regression type of way, but more so like there's still so much over on the other side, if you will, quote unquote, that we can embrace and bring over and build so much with. And that's what I love about it. So that's where I'm at this year. Is how can we just remember those fun, whimsical, transformative days? Like when I was hell yeah, I want to bring pizza to Africa, and I want to bring it to Thailand, and I want to bring it to Antarctica and Easter Island, right? Hell yeah, let's get pizza out there, and only crypto can do this, right? That's the kind of stuff that I'm trying to get back to this year, and help folks kind of cultivate that whimsy and surprise and delight in the space again.
That's awesome. Have you ever been to Easter Island?
No. Have you?
I have not.
Ah.
But I figured if that was one of like the random places around the world that you kind of just threw out there, then maybe you checked it out.
No, not yet. There's so many places that I want to visit because of Rare Pizzas and like the pizza relationships we've developed. I think it's in Peru that we had someone who actually cooked pizzas on Pizza Day on a volcano, like literally on lava. They were cooking pizzas on behalf of Pizza Dow. And so like I am ready. There's so many places that I want to go now because of this pizza party.
Unreal. Agnes, what about you?
What I'm excited about right now, or
Yeah. What are
yeah,
you focused on right now? What are you energized by right now?
I will say with full honesty, 100% comic voxels and digidorbles, and they're both sitting in the audience. Digidorbles is actually me as well. This is a passion project because I love telling stories. I've always wanted to continue telling stories, and Web3 provides a new way to do that, and ways that weren't done before, and ways that maybe we haven't thought of, and that excites me. And I'm excited to do it with the community and do it a little different, and I really hope we do this right. I know we will, because if we can onboard other comic creators and show them that there's other ways of doing this, that's going to be like the most amazing, fantastic thing ever. Because for me, if one of us wins, we all win. So I want all of us to win. And I'm so grateful for Cray Train helping us on this, because she's such an asset. She's one of the best people I've met. I met her last year, like she said, at Comic-Con. And the moment I met her, I'm like, you're stuck with me now. You're too awesome to let go.
I felt the same way. As soon as I met her, I was like, "You're rad. We're gonna be friends for a long time,
Oh, thank
forever."
you. Y'all are the best.
And Craig, tell us what Crate Train means.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it has like a sincere meaning, right? Like nobody's looking in like a baby website and finding the meaning for Crate Train. But when I was in high school, I adopted the name K Train. It just kind of like got thrown upon me, and K Train was my nickname forever. And then when I was in college, there was a song that came out that was like that shit cray. And all my friends would go that shit cray train, and that's like literally the day that I got Twitter. And so I just called myself Cray Train. And so it's just stuck. It's just stuck since then. And I'm totally cool with it now. Like people call me Cray, and it just feels, it feels like me now. It's just who I am.
I totally know what you mean. My name on Twitter is Hero Machine. That was my band name in high school. And when you kind of type out Hero Machine one word, it just says Hiroma. And so people, anytime they'd be like, "Oh yeah, and quick question for," and like they'd pause and like click on my profile to see the full name. So I recently switched it over to Hero. People were calling me Hero too, and I'm like, I think psychologically it's just good for me to like for people to call me Hero. It's just like a nice positive name to call me, so I'm sticking with Hero.
I
Um,
love it.
it's super fun. So comic voxels. Um, it says a Web3 comic book label featuring some of the most iconic creators in traditional comics and biggest brands in NFTs. So, can you tell me a little bit more about how this idea was conceived? Where along are you with this?
Hey,
Totally.
if you guys can get Josh up here, he will totally be able to contribute to that too. I'm gonna just sneak over and start only listening to you guys, because Cray and Josh will talk about this with such expertise.
So, I invited Josh up on stage. Is Josh still here? Josh
He is.
Blaylock?
Josh Blaylock. Yeah.
All right, let me invite Josh again.
Cool. Yeah,
Yep,
because
he's invited.
this is Josh's project, right? So like I said, I've known Josh for about a year now. He's in Chicago like I am, so we bonded over being NFT people in Chicago even before he had a Bored Ape, and then like once he had a Bored Ape, right, it was like friendship secured. But yeah, I would love if Josh can get up here. Let me actually just text him and make sure he's like um at his computer. Hey, are you there? Uh-oh, did we lose them all together?
Maybe a
Okay,
little rug action.
a little rug. Oh yeah, maybe he was having trouble hearing. But yeah, comic voxels. So it's pretty exciting, to be honest. Like I said, it's an opportunity for traditional comic artists to enter the Web3 space. Oh, Josh is here. So I'll intro Josh a little bit and then he can go. But Josh has been in the comic space for over 20 years. He's done really cool comics. I think it's like post 70s or post 80s G.I. Joe stuff, like everything you've seen from G.I. Joe comics is Josh. He's done Transformers. He currently does like Trailer Park Boys comics. He supported the Punks comic launch. He's supported with several other NFT projects comics in the space. And so he has been hanging out not only in the crypto space, but also the Web3 space for a really long time. And it's just really cool for me to see him finally like be able to find a solution for traditional comics artists to come over. So I don't know, Josh, you want to talk a little bit about yourself, I guess, in comic voxels?
I don't know. I'm really just enjoying listening to this space.
Well, I gotta say, Trailer Park Boys has a comic because that's unreal.
Oh,
My
hell yeah.
favorite TV show ever.
Trailerparkcomics.com. I made that as like easy as possible for all the
Oh.
Trailer Park fans out there that are
My
like
favorite show. My grandparents my grandparents were from Canada and grew up in Canada, but I would go there all the time. And it was like the only thing on TV at night. It was the weirdest thing. And I fell in love with it.
Oh, hell yeah. They're like a phenomenon there, man. And then, yeah, we wanted to make it as easy as possible for like, whether you read comics or not. Like when you see that book, if you're a fan of that show, it resonates with you. And that's kind of like my approach to everything. It's like, let's look at the audience that cares about this. And then like, let's go from there. So yeah, thank you. Thanks, Katrina.
Yeah, and real quick, Josh, before we, kind of have you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about the project you're working on. I noticed in your bio that you had biz dev guy in quotation marks, which I think is hilarious. You have that in quotation marks. Do you know what I'm referring to?
I think it's like a life story of mine where I end up, I'm like one of those people that ends up in charge, not because I feel like I want to or have to be in charge, but just through like impatience or lack of patience or like just, wanting to make stuff happen. So I always end up, like I came into comics from the time I was like 4 years old, wanting to be an artist and then becoming a writer and then trying to break in. And I just end up running the company because who else is going to do it? And I don't want to wait to get hired. So yeah, then all of a sudden you're like running a whole comic company, and it's kind of been my life story.
So, all right. So tell us, first of all, welcome. It's very nice to meet you. You've got a huge history of experience that I'm kind of going through right now. So I wouldn't even know where to start, but I think let's start here. Let's talk about comic boxes right now. It sounds like that's the most recent thing that you've started to work on. Can you tell us a little bit about how that started, what it's about, what the mission is?
Yeah, and thanks again for having me here. Yeah, I really wanted to create a place that first and foremost looks at the NFT community and like what is important to them. How do we need to do to present the projects in the right way to this space? Because I also do come from crypto for almost as long as it's been around, and I care deeply about that. But but then find a way to how do we set this up so that it is a welcoming bridge for comic book talent. And when my excitement was sort of quelled originally, when I found out that sort of how resistant the comic book world was to NFTs and this whole amazing world we're all talking about, I pivoted to like my approach is that we want to create a welcoming bridge that makes sense, that has just we've got stuff that's fun going on, and we're developing cool projects, and we basically pull in the people who are interested and love this and want to participate in it from the comic book world. We're not trying to force it or push it on anyone, because I firmly believe if we do that the right way, then they will come and they will want in on like the fun that we're having and the cool projects we're coming up with. So Comic Voxels is your access to an entire ecosystem and universe of comic creators, stories, art, and engagement really with everything in the comic world. And we're gonna launch with 5,000 unique Genesis, what I call the Genesis voxels, and those sort of are like the buy-in to the whole ecosystem. That's got the utility and the access to stuff and access to merch drops and discounts and all that. And then you're gonna get your voxel random. It'll be randomized, one of 6 options, and that gives you a specific free mint to one of our upcoming projects. And because we have a whole slate, and the slate is unlike a roadmap. I wanted to actually do like a publishing slate or a movie slate. These are not things we're thinking about. These are what we're definitely already working on and doing. And the first one in the slate is Digidorables, and then which is Agnes's PFP project. And I think anyone who's listened to Agnes for 5 seconds can tell, yes, this PFP project is going to have benefits and fun things to follow up with besides just the collecting, just from her passion. And then we have one that is really for the NFT crowd, which is the DGen After Hours, where I'm just going to have fun with a online comic we give holders access to that. It just features all of the different PFP characters that are out there. The baseline of the story is there's a bar in the metaverse where they just come to chill because the NFT space moves way too fast and everybody needs to relax sometimes. And then shenanigans ensue. We're going to have some cool ways people access that and mints they get out of that. There's the New Comic Book Day, which is our most traditional product. And then actually, first I'll go to Heroes of Trilash is a very unique, like 250 unique image, sort of like high fashion hype beast culture meets D&D game that's actually going to be played on Discord. And Hoyt Silva actually drew 250 one-of-ones that'll be part of like the launch, in addition to like a small PFP run that's going to go with it. He's this awesome comic book artist with a co-creator, Trey Walker. And then our sort of like easy, low-hanging fruit setup for the rest of the comic world is what we call the New Comic Book Day category. So that's like, let's say you already have an existing comic or you're about to release a regular comic book through the stores and through like digital platforms like Comixology and stuff like that. We take that, we pull out certain key pieces of art and panels from it, animate them, put some rarity in there, animate panels, add some one-of-ones, and then you'll be able to mint those while also getting access to a PDF of the comic that'll be stored on IPFS, and you can read that. And that'll be timed with art auctions with the artists that drew those comics too. Because a big thing that has come out that's been, really antagonizing to the artists in the space is Marvel and DC, sent cease and desist letters to people selling their one-of-one original art, saying they can't do that anymore. And I guess kind of want to say fuck you to those guys. And we actually want to encourage them to sell their original line art, because that's a legal battle that was won back in the 70s that they're allowed to do that. And so from there, you one of those boxes gets you into the whole ecosystem. It gets you at least one free mint out of all of that. And you can sort of come along for the party. And if you don't, you can still go buy a Digidorable. You could still go buy any of these other comic drops. You don't have to have a voxel, one of the Genesis voxels, but it'll sort of be like a little bit of game theory in there. Like, well, it kind of makes sense to go ahead and get one anyway. And then from there, we're already starting to, just from a little bit of leaks and promo that we've done, we've started to hear from other comic artists trepidatiously, like whispering to us like, hey, I'm so glad you're working on this. So glad to see someone doing this. Let's talk. Did I talk long enough?
Yeah, look, I think it's really interesting. I think it's also multifaceted, and so tell us about timing and dates for all of this.
I mean, our allow lists are already being sent out. That's going to ramp up as of really into tomorrow. And I mean, if we have our list, if the allow lists are full and we feel like it's right, I mean, we can launch as early as this weekend. I mean, not next weekend, sorry. Or no, wait, what day is it?
Yeah, it would be this weekend.
Monday. Yeah.
But we want to do it right. we want to do it right. And so I think the team is really eager because in the comics world, sometimes you have to deliver stuff overnight, right? Like folks can publish comics within a week. And so getting an NFT out project might seem really like a low lift to comic artists because it's like, we have hard deliverables that we have to, do all sorts of crazy stuff all of the time. But we really want to make sure it makes sense for the community. So yes, we've been talking about, like Josh said, as early as this weekend. But if the community responds and says like it doesn't feel right, we want to be really aware of that because like I said, Josh is doing this for the right reasons. We want to get the right people involved. We want people who love comics to find a home here. So yeah, that's all I wanted to add is like, it's not necessarily a rush. It's more so like we've been ready for a while, but we also want to do it right.
Yeah, well, look, I think everyone that wants this to, and I'm sure it will, everyone who wants this to succeed and do what you're intending to do over a long period of time, I'm sure everyone will want you to make sure that you wait until it's perfectly ready and you're ready to press go. There's a lot that goes in. There are a lot of dynamics at play, and as soon as you're done with the launch, then all of a sudden there's a whole different operation that happens, kind of on day one, and you can only be so prepared for it because you're giving everything that you've got to this first launch and this first chapter in the journey. So. I think one of the things that's really standing out to me across everything that you shared with us, Josh and Cray, about this project is that it really is truly and authentically being done by someone who has helped to build the space in Web 2.0. So it's all there. This wasn't just kind of an idea that came up after getting into NFTs one day, right? This is really a continuation of your life's work, and you use the word bridge very similarly to the way that we use bridge at Nomad. So many of the people in the media and entertainment industry and animation, some of the areas of industry that we come from before the NFT space are just so asleep still to everything that's going on. And so we've always thought about Nomad as a bridge for people that are in the creative spaces who hear about NFTs for the first time or are intimidated by NFTs to feel like they have a really soft landing spot into this new world. And it's interesting what you said, Cray, about kind of finding a happy medium between Web 2.0 and Web 3.0. It sounds to me like that's what you're doing. That's what I get from what Josh says about this project. Cray or Joso, was there anything else that Josh kind of talked? Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Oh, did I make a noise? Sorry. Well, actually, you know what? The soft landing spot definitely is what we were trying to create there. Like one of our artists, one of the people on board, Jimmy Palmiotti. I mean, I've known Jimmy for years. Love him. He's like a mentor, and I mean, he and his wife Amanda Connor. I mean, they basically created the new version of Harley Quinn that you see in the movies and the cartoon and stuff, and so many other things. And that whole concept of just he like someone that wants to try it, but is totally down with it, but doesn't completely grasp all the technology yet, is like, okay, cool. Let me just do this one thing, dip my toe in the water, and then if that goes well, we'll do more. So that's one of the people we're working with, and that's why I'm happy about us having that option for them. But one thing I would like, you brought up a good point about all of the stuff that comes after it, and there's one weakness in the Web3 space that I think the comic book crowd is extremely well suited for, just to crush it. And that is on all of the fulfillment and deliverables of all of the stuff that all the perks that you can bring later. So when it comes to like the average PFP project being successful and taken off, you want to do, merch drops, and you want to do, everybody says they want to make a comic and they want to do all these different things. We've got, because of the fact that we've been this sort of, besides distribution and logistics and sending out to stores and retail chains and all that, we also have always done direct to consumer online. And then with Kickstarter, I was actually, I think, the first publisher of our kind actively embracing Kickstarter too. we had to lock down the whole fulfillment thing into a science for years. So we'll have a Kickstarter campaign that, has like 1,000 backers and all these tiny little, like super detailed orders that have to get assembled and go up and get shipped out. And it was just like, it's kind of like, this has all been training. This has all been training for NFTs. Like, I feel like the last 20 years has been, practice. So just,
That's amazing because, I say this a lot, but, what got us here is not what is necessarily going to get us there. It really, it really does involve different muscles and skill sets and, different speeds, thinking in different time intervals. But based on what you said, it sounds like the kind of the second phase of this you're going to be ready for.
yeah, like so many, sorry, so
Oh
many,
no, go ahead.
so many things that are hard. It's like you got to basically find out, like, what do you do that's easy for you? That's like, it's because you spend time and you build up these infrastructures. When it's new, you just have to do the work, and then once you get that infrastructure, that's a value to other people. So we've got the infrastructure to do so many things. What's hard for us, even though I've been floating around crypto for years and years, and like actually getting this real team together for the Web3 side, that was my challenge, and I spent the last year going to every single event that I could and throwing myself into stuff, randomly hitting up the Rare Pizzas people because that I heard on Clubhouse saying, "Hey, you should check out this place by my house in Chicago," and that's how I met Katrina. Nothing to do with comics. The all that stuff. So like, yeah, Cray Train has helped us so much in putting the team together. Because I work with Pixel Vault, I met Potamus that way. He's handling our Discord community and all of our badass latest bots and widgets and everything we plug into Discord. And then Alex came on board thanks to Cray, um, and we've got Laura, our designer, on there. So the whole team is just amazing. And then so Guy Veter, my smart contract developer, he's a Solidity developer, comes from a cybersecurity background and everything. We met on Clubhouse too. He just heard me talking at like 1 a.m. one night and hit me up. So it's just crazy how that stuff has come together. But that's the thing. Nobody else in the comic book space was doing that. Like almost nobody, or if they were on there, they were artists who were specifically looking at it from the art side. I didn't see any publishers, any executives that I knew from those companies who were hanging out like that every night because they just kind of didn't care. um, and I don't mean to hog all the talking time, but that's so I know. So I'm really excited. I feel like we're in a really unique space, partially because I'm a weirdo that's in all of these different areas at one time.
I was just gonna say that, but no, I'm just kidding, Josh. Look, it's crazy. You're the week of this drop. Is this the biggest? Look, I obviously have a lot of credits in this space, right? You've worked on a lot of projects. Is this the first major project that you've owned in the space?
Yeah, this will be the first one that I'm really personally behind. Yeah.
And what are you the most concerned about?
More like making sure it just resonates with the community the right way, which I feel I feel really good about that now. Like I feel like the team we have was like the reason why you haven't seen us before. This was the missing element. Like this, and also there were some test runs I did in the past. We did do some auctions. We did a little bit of test runs with, like, because I did the Gitcoin comic. We did some animated panels with them that were sort of like an extra boost to the grant funding, plus some other for profit for the creative side. We did test runs to make sure things worked. We did partner with some really high profile comic artists and did some auctions for them. By NFT standards, they weren't like going to blow the doors off, but by the comic book artist standards, they were really happy to make this extra money for content they had already had. And so all along the way, what we were really doing was, testing the smart contracts, making sure this wasn't our first rodeo. And yeah, so now really my biggest concern is just, I'm so confident in the team It's just external factors. What's the market going to do? I hadn't factored in, World War III into my launch, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy what's going on right now. But look, I mean, there have been so many major things that have happened since we got into the space, right? And kind of like what Cray was talking about right at the beginning of the space. There's just market hype and correction and all different sorts of external factors. But I think if you just stay focused, deliver value and do it your way well, you're fine.
Yeah, I think that's so important, Hero. After being on, so many teams in the space, I helped Oni Force after they launched. I was a part of Rare Pizzas before and after launch, Strawberry WTF and all those things. Like, it's always easiest before sellout. And then once things sell out, it starts to get hectic because 2 hours in the NFT space is like a week or two worth of work in a traditional environment, right? And so, like you said, I think staying focused on what our goals are, what we're really trying to do in the space, and how we're trying to make a difference, like that will take you so far. That's why Rare Pizzas is still around, right? That's why people still resonate with Rare Pizzas. That's why people are willing to donate their time, because we know who we are and we're dedicated to fulfilling that mission. So, yeah, focus, heads down, all those things, super important as we go forward.
Can I just say that I also agree that in New York, that was like one of the best vibes of any party. And I think I went through there twice or brought 2 different people through. Wherever Katrina is, pizza just shows up.
It's true.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Thanks, y'all.
And it wasn't like cheap pizza. It was Prince Pizza, like the best pizza.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Prince Street Pizza is amazing, except I have bad news. Their founders are very, very problematic.
No.
Yeah, I did some research. I'm so sad. But there's a lot of other amazing pizza in New York. So just...
they're dead to me. They're gone.
Yeah, just Ruby Rosa Pizza. That's amazing. There's so many other pizza places. So hundreds in New York City. So we don't want to back the bigots, I guess, if you will. We don't like problematic people.
Yeah, definitely not. And just like art, I like to buy art from the artists that I get to know a little bit. So same thing with pizza. So Josh, has that always been your PFP, or has that been your PFP for the majority of the time you've been in the space?
No, I had my ape for a while. Usually I use my own art, but then I wanted to play around with the whole Twitter hexagon thing, and I was like, there's no way in hell I'm putting my ape on there.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, but I love the aesthetic of the Dead Fellas. I think I love that clean art style. I kind of like everything about their whole vibe.
And Josh, I have another question for you. So, tell us how you were involved with Punk's comic and that whole world.
Yeah, I came on as their to write the comic right after their first issue. I had minted the first issue. I was following it because I was like following everything, and then I saw that, and it was one of those things where I think I'd already just tapped out all my ETH to buy everything I could. Saw that and said, damn it, I have to buy this too. I have to know what they're doing because it looks so interesting and it involves comics. And got that. I hit up G-Funk on Discord and hit up Chris Wall on Twitter. Never expected to hear back. And then Chris Wall, actually, they both said hi and then didn't really hear anything. I was really coming at it like saying, hey, I'm yada, yada, yada. I'm so-and-so from the comic book world. This looks really cool. Any way we can collaborate or help you or work together, let us know. But then when I hit up Chris, he finally I don't remember exactly how it went down. He got back to me that they were actually looking for a writer. And then I just didn't hear anything for weeks. So I just figured they'd moved on. Then I heard I was in the final running. There was some crazy competition there too. I thought they would definitely go with, I literally was like, my response was to the other person they might go with was, well, you can always do more than one story. So, because I thought they'd go with them for sure, and they came back, and really it was because Chris Wall vouched for me, that he's like, you understand this space. You don't just come from comics and know how to write on the creative side. You know inside baseball and all things, not just crypto, but NFT. And we also had to understand not just NFTs, but what was going on with their Twitter sphere and their Discord community and all that. And then came on board there. And then it was like, okay, you're the writer. Also, there's a Bored Ape Yacht Club collaboration coming up. There's got to be eight cameos in it. Oh, by the way, also, it's an Adidas tie-in. And, fit this all into a comic book. And I was like, challenge accepted. And did that, and then just came onto the team in general as the chief storyteller. So now I'm working on the the origin stories comics and the regular Punks comic series. I'm developing the Meta Hero comic series right now, and then I'm constantly in contact working with the game side too. Incredible, fantastic team, growing super fast. Everybody on there is just smart as shit. And I was so excited Potamus came on to help, make sure our Discord is tight, because he oversaw the Adidas drop for them, and there was nothing bigger than that. And I was just kind of found myself on a spot where I was like kind of like the only person from the comic book world with my background as a creative on the writing side who understood what the hell anyone was even talking about in the NFT space. And also, though, because I'm a publisher, having these infrastructures to be like, we can provide you with other artists, or just colorists for your artist, or printing capabilities, or fulfillment capabilities, and all that stuff too. And it's been great. I mean, it kind of took over my life. And to be honest, my assistant publisher, Kit Coagas, she's been running all of the basic logistics of the traditional publishing company, because our systems are in place for that. And I've just been, spending my days keeping up with NFT land.
Unreal. I mean, we're talking about, one of the biggest projects to happen in the space, like one of the most innovative teams. It's not a copycat. There's no one else doing it quite like that. And, I'm assuming that you're going to get some support from them on this project as well, right?
Yeah, I've been careful not to I definitely wanted to make sure we're doing something completely different, and it's all copacetic. And they're like, they're so busy right now. There's so much happening. I wish I could talk about 10% of it because there's some amazing stuff going on. Yeah, I'm sure there's some way down the line what some stuff happens together. Yeah, I know that. I mean, I complete every day. It's like just checking yourself on the gratitude of like, wow, I got in that spot. Like, it's like the harder you work, the luckier you get. But it's like, God damn, is there some luck in there? Like, I mean, just to get the response back from Chris, and if I hadn't have just sent out this random message, it would have never happened. But that's sort of been. But then, like, what are the chances that it would have that he did come back, and now all of a sudden we're working together? That's kind of how the whole journey in all of crypto, I think, for everybody is. We go, it's like Clubhouse. Who knew that was going to benefit you being up every night, talking to people on this app? It's like we were all floating in the ocean waiting to see what island we landed on. And we're like, don't know where we're going, but when we get there, we're going to build something cool. And
it's totally true.
Yeah,
it's totally true. And also, it just seems like there were people on there like late at night, 4, 5, 7 hour conversations. Like, I think people really were ready for something new. They were ready to be a part of like the next big thing, and didn't really realize what was happening yet. I know I didn't. And then I think people kind of took the opportunity to really build. And get involved with a bunch of people and network and find your people and find what you were excited about, and then just kind of wait for there to be a gap and then to go for it. It's been crazy watching this whole thing happen over the last year.
This is lightning in a bottle, though, and it's one of those super special, precious moments that I just try to be very conscious of the entire time this is happening. Like, because it's, you look back through history and there are certain scenes that happen, and everybody sort of comes up together, and they sort of set that whole, like, they set the tone for that whole era. And whether you're talking about like New York punk rock in the 70s and early 80s, or any other music scene, you know or you're talking about the tech scene in Silicon Valley back in the Steve Jobs garage days, all that stuff. It's like there's something special happening, and that's why I just wanted to be at every place possible. And it wasn't, I think it helped being one, like being a kid driving out to some random convention back when there barely were any conventions, just trying to like sling your comics, was the similar experience to being part of any scene and just trying to having to build a community and everything. And Agnes, I know she can't talk now, she's done all that. She started going to the shows, hustling at the tables, like with her drawings and comics that she made, and built herself up to a full professional following. Kind of just, I flew out to a crypto conference in 2013 by myself to Las Vegas, back when you had to go like on local Bitcoins to buy shit just to see what it was all about. And back then was amazed by the people, the quality of the people you meet. Like, it was unlike anything I'd ever been to. Everyone I talked to was really interesting, and that sucked me in. But that whole art thing was never there. Like, I was always like a lurker on the outside. And I would just keep meeting these amazing people year after year after year that, I just wanted to somehow be a part of it. And that's why I wrote the Bitcoin comic back in like 2018, just to contribute something. But when NFTs happened, it was like, this is it. This is the time. This is what we were talking about all those years ago. That unfortunately half those people became Bitcoin maxis and went all, we're all crazy. But I was like, this is it. This is when the art is the crypto. And then all of a sudden my comic book community, they all went nuts and they like hated it. So it's like, okay, this is a similar story. Always sort of walking the not the black sheep, but like the gray sheep path of not being totally like out there, but just kind of having to go your own road and have conviction that it's going to turn out.
I didn't get rugged. A button froze. Josh, are you traveling a lot right now? Are you going to lots of conferences around the country?
I haven't yet this year really, but that's about to pick up. But with this launch, we don't have our NFTLA plans set up, but I'm ready to jump back into that.
Well,
Soon.
depending on the timing of your launch, we are having some conversations with a couple of companies in the space for NFTLA. We're kind of like an LA based project. So we have our launch party happening this week on Thursday. This is like an event we've been kind of working on for a couple of months now. Really excited about it. And then our next thing is going to be around the weekend of NFTLA. So, if there's a way that we can support the work that you're doing, the community that's about to kind of have a new home, please let us know. Maybe there's a way for us to collaborate. Nomad is kind of filled with some incredible talent, some name talent, some emerging artists. One of the artists that is a featured artist on the project, who was in the room for a little bit tonight, who's no longer here, his name is Luther. An amazing artist, and draws comic depictions. And anyway, I think there's a really strong parallel to the people in our community and kind of what you're putting together.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I'll like definitely we'll stay in touch and see what's possible, and look forward to seeing all that stuff.
So listen, while Cray and Josh are up here, if there's anyone in the audience that wants to come up and ask a question, or bring up anything that we were talking about earlier that you want us to touch on again, feel free to request to come up here. Joso, anything else that you want to bring up? Anything that you want to ask Josh or Cray or Agnes?
Well, I know, Agnes, you have Craig, when we talked, there's like her other project, right? Agnes has a project coming out. I'd like to kind of know more about that because, yeah, if you want to talk a little bit about that, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, and I don't know if Agnes is still here. I think she left her little llama on stage, but yeah, so
It's a super cute llama, by the way.
It's so stinking cute. So Agnes, she posted about it today. I think, I don't know if it was on Twitter or Instagram, but Agnes, I think she said, is from Poland or is Polish, and this was her little Polish llama. So I thought that was really cute. But yeah, so Agnes is about to launch Digidorable. So like Josh mentioned, there's going to be a Genesis Voxels mint this week, but we will be doing like kind of like fast follow project launches underneath Comic Voxels very soon. And so the first project to launch under Comic Voxels is Agnes's project, Digidorables. And so it's a 10K generative llama PFP project, which I don't know if I've seen any llamas yet. It's totally possible. The last llama I remember seeing was when we were in the clubhouse days. There was a guy who like drew animals facing left or something. He would always draw llamas. But I haven't seen llamas since then. But Agnes's llamas are super cute. She really hopes to like dig into that storytelling world because, you know, like I said, she's a New York Times bestselling comic artist, and she's really great at telling stories and cultivating community through story. And so that's really what she hopes to do. And then, of course, it'll be under the Comic Voxels umbrella, and so folks will have access to the Comic Voxels community, especially if they get Digidorable's Genesis token. They'll get all these other exclusive things, but yeah, I don't know, Josh, do you want to mention anything else about Digidorables that maybe I missed? Or
just like I'm just completely, I mean, I've known Agnes forever. I know how talented she is, and I was still just blown away by how much detail she put into every single layer. And I mean, she was like cranking these things out almost, I think, obsessively drawing llamas constantly. And yeah, I don't know, the personalities, some of the ideas she came up with are both like homages to what's currently going on in the space, but also completely original. She really is looking at engaging with her community, you know, on a personal level too, doing a lot of live stream, like a lot of sort of educational art experiences, or just sort of like the fun of watching someone draw. I know she's really going to be active with that. She wants to do a lot of engagement actually on the side with kids too. So there's a lot of people who want to be able to sort of share the whole NFT experience with their kids, but it's like, I'm not going to give my 8-year-old access to the Web3 wallet, but they can sort of have fun and experience this thing that way by joining in on the live streams and Discords. So we're still working out some of the details. And then again, when it comes to any sort of merchandise possibilities, like that's where, you know, we're really set up to do some cool stuff there. And I know Agnes is up as a speaker, but again, I think she might have just left her thing on there. Speaking of fashion too, I do want to give Hoyt a shout out, who's here, because Heroes of Trilash isn't coming for a couple of months, but the level of like design that he put into those 250 one-of-one characters, like Kat will speak to that. It's just badass, and it's like, you know, you either like, people either will want the outfits for themselves or they'll just, you know, I think they're gonna
totally
drool over some of those.
They're so cool. They're like hype beast streetwear superheroes who like will kick your ass and get 100 likes on Instagram at the same time. They're so cool. But also to like the component about Agnes, the children's side, I can kind of testify when I saw Agnes at her booth at Comic-Con, there was like a line of children who wanted to meet her. Yeah, surrounded by kiddos who want to meet her and see her draw something that looks like them or that is them, right, in some comic book style. And so I can just testify to like, how cool it was to see parents bring their kids up and kind of see like parents' dreams being met, kids' dreams being met, right? All because of like storytelling and art in one place. And then, yeah, like Josh said, Hoyt, I've just been so encouraged by his art. They're like, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but there's one superhero who has like a bucket hat that's like a helmet. And I wear so many bucket hats that I'm like, gosh, this resonates so much. Like my bucket hat is my armor when I go out into the world. And so I love what's happening over here. I love Agnes's art. I love Hoyt's art, right? I'm just super encouraged by this team and their caliber and everything like that. So
Well, we really wish you all the best. I'm going to definitely be following. As soon as we kind of hear about dates, please let us know so our team can, spread the good word. And I know we're already working on, making sure people are aware of this in our Discord. And look, there's just something about IRL that brings all of this together. You start to meet people in person, you get that human connection, and it just somehow, like your center of gravity of a project and a community and everything, just comes into place. So hopefully we can meet up in person as well. And who knows, maybe there's some sort of collaboration between Nomad and these projects and the artists behind the projects. I know Joso would be excited about that. Cray, it's been great getting to know you. Josh, great getting to know you. Really appreciate you coming up on stage and joining us for this session. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the room before we sign off?
So the only thing I'll say is I'm so grateful for the Nomad team, Hero. Thank you so much for having us. You did a great job. You're a natural. You're really great at this. So thank you so much for having us, Joso. Thank you for getting us all connected. Joso gave me a JPEG necklace back in Miami. I don't even know when that was, and I've had it ever since without even knowing too much about the project until like recently. But yeah, I love what y'all are doing, and I just appreciate this team. So I really appreciate it. I'm grateful. And NFTLA, I will definitely be there. So I would love, whether it's comic voxels or if we could get some pizza to any of the Nomad events, like whatever that looks like, I'd love to support y'all.
Oh, we need a
Amazing.
Nomad pizza party.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got it somehow.
Consider that done. Let's get pizza in the mix at the party. Josh?
Unfortunately, we give out comics at the same time as the pizza, and it doesn't go well for the comics. No, yeah, seriously, like this is one of the great curated space. Thank you so much for having us on here, and this is one of the first times we've been on a space really talking about this, so really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Josh, one more thing. Having been in this, comic world for 20 years, were you ever into Marvel cards?
Oh, hell yeah. When I was like, I don't know, 13 or something, we had some job at a flea market. There was some retailer that was like more than happy to take all of our money. And we gave it all to him for Marvel cards.
And do you remember Marvel Universe?
You mean like the old Who's Who books?
Well, I mean, like, there was a bunch of series of cards called Marvel Universe, and basically it took comic characters and made them into like trading cards.
Yeah. I think I'm mixing those together as the same thing. Yeah. I don't remember specifics. I know they just came back though. Like they were pretty hot. At least like during COVID, they really came back big.
Have you considered incorporating kind of the project you're working on into like a kind of digital trading card thing? I mean, is that a possibility?
I would, yeah, absolutely. I think, I think at first I didn't really go that way because of like Wax Blockchain does stuff like that. But now that we're building out our own ecosystem, I think there's some really clever shit you could do with that. And yeah, that could be very fun.
Yeah, there's this kind of limitless stuff that you can do. So look, good luck with this week. I know it's going to go great. And, we're excited to support you and get the communities working together, which really is what this space is all about. And let's talk very soon. Thanks so much for being on stage, you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hero. Thanks, Joso.
Yeah, of course. It's great,
Everyone.
Chan. Thank you, everyone. Josh, great to meet you. Agnes, if you're there listening,
You too, Joseph.
still a huge fan.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care.
And then shout out my boy Cheetah Cowboy. Love you.